Happy TGIF and welcome to Firstpost America. I'm Eric Hammond. We're live in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. And today it's more controversy for Elon Musk as his staff in Washington come under heavy fire. We've got the latest on that and other stories from the United States and around the world. But first, here's a look at the day's headlines. The first group of deported illegal migrants from the United States arrive at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. The Trump administration deported 10 illegal migrants on a military aircraft, all of whom are suspected of being gang members. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Netanyahu says he supports President Donald Trump's plan of the U.S. taking over Gaza, but adds that American troops are not needed in the war-torn Strip. A major fire engulfs a passenger train in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Officials confirm all 350 passengers on board have been rescued. Kenya sends 100 additional troops from its elite unit to the Caribbean nation of Haiti, taking the total deployment numbers to over 500. This just days after violent gangs attacked one of the richest neighborhoods in the capital, Port-au-Prince. And the United Arab Emirates and France agreed to jointly develop Europe's largest AI data center. The Middle Eastern nation has pledged to invest almost $50 billion in the project. We begin in the United States, where President Donald Trump signed an executive order sanctioning the International Criminal Court, or the ICC, on Thursday. The commander-in-chief called The Hague illegitimate and accused the ICC of abusing its power. The executive order places financial and visa restrictions on individuals and their families who assist the ICC in investigating Americans and its allies. And now it also must be noted that the sanctions on the ICC come as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the United States. And the ICC has issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu and accused Israel of committing war crimes in Gaza.
We also have Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visiting the capital. And as all of you know, he was here not that long ago. Israel is our closest ally in the Middle East. The last time that he was here, a number of Democrats, including Vice President Harris, boycotted his remarks in the House of Representatives. This time around, his visit follows a time when the Democrats here in the Senate basically, through their vote, gave legitimacy to an illegitimate court because they didn't want to defend Israel's right to defend itself or American citizens from the actions of the International Criminal Court, which is an illegitimate court.
Now, the United States is not a member of the ICC and has repeatedly rejected any jurisdiction by The Hague over American officials or its citizens. And the White House has also accused the ICC of trying to restrain Israel's right to self-defense by wanting to arrest a democratically elected prime minister.
The decision to issue an arrest warrant against me, the democratically elected prime minister of the State of Israel, and our former defense minister, was made by a rogue prosecutor who's trying to extricate himself from sexual harassment charges, and by biased judges who are motivated by anti-Semitic sentiments.
Now, the ICC is not the first international institution that President Donald Trump has gone after. In fact, since returning to office, the president has signed executive orders withdrawing the United States from the World Health Organization, the United Nations Human Rights Council, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine, the United Nations Cultural Agency UNESCO, and the Paris Climate Accords for a second time.
So I've always felt that the UN has tremendous potential. It's not living up to that potential right now. It really isn't, hasn't for a long time. It has, there are great hopes for it, but it's not being well run, to be honest, and they're not doing the job. A lot of these conflicts that we're working on should be settled, or at least we should have some help in settling them. We never seem to get help. That should be the primary purpose of the UN, the United Nations. And again, it's got great potential, and based on the potential, we'll continue to go along with it, but they got to get their act together.
Now, Washington was the largest funder of the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and the Paris Climate Agreement, which helped in providing aid and relief in conflict zones and regions affected by natural disasters. Yet it's still anyone's guess how many more institutions the United States will exit under the Trump administration. And now we shift focus to President Trump's closest ally, Elon Musk. The billionaire has been making headlines over the actions of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which he now leads. Now, from being accused of overreach into federal departments to demanding fatigue-inducing work hours from DOGE employees, Elon Musk has not having a good week. In fact, now Musk and DOGE are caught in another controversy. A senior DOGE employee was asked to leave the team after facing backlash over his previous posts on social media that were racist. Marco Elise, the former DOGE staffer, urged his followers on social media to quote-unquote normalize hate against Indians. According to an NPR report, Elise frequently boasted about his anti-Indian and anti-immigration stance, and he once tweeted, quote, "I was racist before it was cool," end quote. Now, Elise is a 25-year-old software engineer who was working for DOGE and was given access to the Treasury Department, where he had access to sensitive banking data of millions of Americans. The NPR report further suggests that Elise enjoys close relations with Elon Musk, and the two have previously worked together at SpaceX. A White House official has now confirmed Elise's resignation from DOGE. However, Americans and Democrats are now demanding answers.
Elon Musk has absolutely no business handling the personal information of American taxpayers, period. For an unelected billionaire to have full access to Americans' personal tax and Social Security information is not only an egregious violation of privacy, but it is illegal under Section 6103 of the Internal Revenue Code. Our phones have been ringing off the hook with constituents who are horrified and frightened that their personal information has been handed over to an unelected billionaire with no accountability to the American people.
Now, Elon Musk and employees at DOGE are neither elected nor a part of a federal agency. However, they do have access to sensitive data of the Pentagon, the Department of Justice, the IRS, the FBI, and even the CIA.
House Republicans don't appear interested in working for everyday Americans and solving problems for hardworking American taxpayers. Why? Because they are working for Elon Musk and doing the bidding of an unelected, unaccountable, out of control billionaire puppet master.
And today we're here to say with one voice, fire Elon Musk. An unelected, unaccountable billionaire now has seemingly unlimited powers over Americans' private data and over Americans' taxpayer dollars. It seems every hour brings more news about a new threat Elon Musk poses to working people, a new way that Elon Musk wants to take your hard-earned money and keep it for himself.
And now additional reports have emerged that Elon Musk has even hired teenagers to be part of DOGE, with the youngest member being a high school graduate who's just 19 years old. Now, prior to President Trump's inauguration, many expressed optimism that Elon Musk's DOGE could bring about a new work culture in Washington. But with the latest developments, enthusiasm has dropped dramatically as Musk battles controversies and uncomfortable questions. And President Donald Trump is planning the biggest ever revamp of the White House. The commander-in-chief now wants to drop a whopping $100 million of his own money to build a ballroom fit for royalty. The president said he wanted a ballroom in the White House similar to the one that he has at his Mar-a-Lago estate. And that's not it. He also wants a Christian faith room office in the White House to fight what he calls anti-Christian bias. Our next report brings you more on Donald Trump's home decor aspirations.
Since returning to the White House, Donald Trump is shaking things up time and again. But this time, He's not just signing executive orders, he's dreaming big. Mar-a-Lago big. And his grand plan is to build a $100 million ballroom for glittering galas and state dinners at the White House. Speaking to a jam-packed East Room crowd, Trump grinned.
The room is packed, and I offered to build a ballroom. I'm very good at building ballrooms. I build beautiful ballrooms. And I actually offered to build a ballroom for the White House. I was going to build it right there. This was going to be the reception room. And then I was going to build a beautiful, beautiful ballroom like I have at Mar-a-Lago, as beautiful as it can be. It was going to cost about $100 million. I offered to do it, and I never heard back. I offered to do it to the Biden administration, very active administration. They didn't hear back, and I said again and again, 3-4 times. I said to top people, and they just didn't know what to do. They sort of said, "This is good," but they had no idea. So I'm going to try and make the offer to myself, because we could use a bigger room, right, Marcia? We could use a bigger room.
Yes, you heard that right, a ballroom. Trump wants to upgrade the presidential party scene from lawn tents to luxury. The East Room, as White House history buffs know, is the mansion's biggest space at just under 3,000 square feet. But for Trump, it's practically a broom closet. Now, this isn't a new obsession. Back in 2010, Trump pitched the same idea to then-President Barack Obama. But Obama wasn't buying it, and neither did Joe Biden, who also rejected the plan after taking office from Trump in 2021. Instead, state dinners continued under massive tents, with chandeliers hanging precariously above diplomats' heads. Trump called those setups unsafe and disgraceful. And now that he's back, Trump is doubling down. "No more tents, okay? We're better than that," he joked. But that's not the only thing the ambitious president wants to build.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
Trump's return to the White House has also brought Christian nationalism to the highest levels of government. During the national prayer breakfast on Thursday, President Trump laid out steps that he will take to make those dreams of Christian nationalist power a reality. "We want to bring religion back, stronger, bigger, and better than ever before," he declared.
I'm also creating the White House Faith Office, led by Pastor Paula White, who is so amazing. In the White House, we will protect Christians in our schools, in our military, in our government, in our workplaces, hospitals, and in our public squares. And we will bring our country back together as one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
While the White House is yet to elaborate on Trump's agenda, the question is whether Elon Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency agrees that these efforts would be a good use of taxpayer dollars. And what evidence, if any, Trump has that there's a problem of anti-Christian bias within the federal government. But be it a beautiful ballroom or a religious office in the White House, building anything on the historic grounds isn't as easy as snapping fingers. Congress controls White House renovations. And even if Trump footed the $100 million bill, he would still need approval from Congress and the National Park Service. Support from former presidents would help, and let's be honest, that's highly unlikely. Back in Trump's first term, then First Lady Melania once made headlines for building a tennis pavilion. But Trump wants more, much, much more. And since the clip of Trump's project has gone viral, social media has had a hard time resisting not to comment. One user said, "The last thing the White House needs is a ballroom." Another user said, "If he's going to pay for it with his own money, then whatever, I guess." And then there were a few others who even joked on the president's and tech billionaire Elon Musk's close relationship, commenting that the duo can use the ballroom for practicing their moves. So while the internet had mixed reviews on Trump's ballroom and Christian office projects, the question is, will Congress approve Trump's ballroom dream? And will Trump's White House faith office protect Christians? Whatever it may be, one thing's for sure. When it comes to Donald Trump, the parties and prayers are just getting started.
And Karoline Leavitt isn't just making headlines, she's also rewriting history. At 27, the New Hampshire native has become the youngest White House press secretary ever. A staunch Trump loyalist and unapologetic Gen Z conservative, Leavitt's sharp rhetoric and bold social media presence have already made waves. Earning a hefty six-figure salary, she is not just the face of the president's second term, she's also the voice promising to shake up how the White House communicates. Our next report brings you more on her political ambitions.
Good afternoon, everybody.
At just 27, Karoline Leavitt has shattered records.
How are you?
She's now the youngest White House press secretary in U.S. history.
Is in Venezuela today.
The New Hampshire native took to the podium last month, igniting a fresh, bold era in political communication. Her opening words echoed through Donald Trump's inaugural speech.
President Trump is back, and the golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Now, Leavitt is no stranger to the political arena. A staunch conservative and Trump loyalist, she first interned in the White House during Trump's first term in 2017. She later became a presidential writer and assistant press secretary, and her rise has been meteoric. By 2022, she was the first Gen Z Republican to win a GOP primary in her state, though she lost the general election to Democrat Chris Pappas. However, her political journey started at St. Anselm College, where she graduated with a degree in politics and communication. She was the first in her family to earn a college degree, attending an athletic scholarship and playing for the softball team. Though initially she considered journalism, even interning at local station WMQR, but politics was her true passion, fueled by Trump's first term. And without a doubt, Leavitt's commitment to Trump's vision remained unwavering. After his 2020 loss, she became the communications director for Republican Elise Stefanik, a vocal Trump supporter. Then in 2024, Leavitt joined Trump's campaign as national spokesperson, traveling extensively to defend his policies. Even the president himself has praised her as smart, tough, and highly effective communicator. And as fiery she is, her Twitter feed is a blend of sharp political commentary and unapologetic conservatism. One tweet featured her at a shooting range firing a machine gun captioned, "Joe Biden, come and take it." The tweet, for all the reasons, went viral, solidifying her reputation as a fierce defender of gun rights. Last month, after Trump took over the Oval Office, her first White House briefing lasted 47 minutes. During the conference, Leavitt handled tough questions on issues like the freeze of federal grants and early deportation policies.
It is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. That is something that President Trump campaigned on. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are subject to deportation.
Fiery, right? Her approach isn't just about answering reporters. She's shaking up how the White House engages with the public. She promised to open the briefing room to podcasters, independent journalists, and social media influencers. Her aim? To make the White House more accessible, especially to younger Americans.
We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House.
But her fiery spirit extends beyond politics. Leavitt's personal life is equally headline-worthy. She married 60-year-old real estate tycoon Nicholas Robert, who's 32 years senior to her. Robert, a multimillionaire, proposed to her on Christmas 2023. The couple welcomed their first child, a son named Nicholas, in July 2024, right in the heat of Trump's campaign. But Leavitt's resilience truly shone during a crisis. Just 4 days after giving birth, she returned to work following an assassination attempt on Trump. Her planned maternity leave was cut short, reflecting her dedication to both her family and career. Her role as press secretary isn't just historical, it's lucrative too. Leavitt earns a six-figure salary of $180,000, but it is not the paycheck that drives her. It is the mission. She is determined to amplify Trump's message and connect with Americans across generations.
Let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him.
Leavitt's fiery presence at the podium marks a new chapter. She's not just a spokesperson, she's a trailblazer, redefining what it means to be the voice of the White House in the digital age.
And finally, we shift to the war in Europe that's now entering its fourth year. Ukraine received the first batch of Mirage 2000 fighter jets from France, along with a batch of F-16 jets from the Netherlands. The Mirage 2000 jets arrived with Ukrainian pilots on board after several months of training in France. The numbers remain classified, but at least 6 of the French-made jets landed in Ukraine. The aircraft is a fourth-generation multi-role supersonic jet, which was introduced by the French manufacturer Dassault back in the 1970s. The jets can be used for ground strikes, intercepting missiles, and can deploy long-range weapons, including Scout missiles and Storm Shadow missiles supplied to Kyiv by NATO allies. These jets can also conduct strikes using long-range bombs and have enhanced firing capabilities for both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions, posing a major threat to Russian military assets.
I also want to express my gratitude to France and personally to President Macron for fulfilling our agreements. Our Air Force has now been reinforced with French Mirage fighter jets, marking another step forward in the development of Ukrainian military aviation. This will allow us to carry out more missions. I also thank the Netherlands, where a new batch of F-16 fighter jets has arrived, and this is significant.
And on the heels of this new delivery of fighter jets, Ukraine has also launched a major offensive in the western Russian region of Kursk. Meanwhile, in an emergency meeting with regional governors, Russia's Putin admitted that the situation in Kursk remains very difficult.
And finally, to the most sensitive issue concerning additional compensation for loss of property to these, as you said, 112,000 people who have already received 150,000 rubles. I agree with you that this money is not enough. I will give instructions to the government today or tomorrow, in the coming days, to work out these issues so that additional decisions will be made.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky praised his troops for the offensive and issued state honors for several army units. President Zelensky said the occupier can and should be beaten in its own territory.
We've significantly expanded our exchange fund with hundreds and hundreds of Russian soldiers, whom we are exchanging to bring Ukrainians back home from captivity. We also have North Korean soldiers in captivity. They are currently receiving medical treatment, as they were seriously wounded in combat.
Now, earlier on Thursday, Ukrainian forces also claimed to have struck an airfield in southern Russia that was being used to launch Iran-made drones. And next week, President Zelensky will attend the Munich Security Conference, where Vice President J.D. Vance and Special Envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, will also be in attendance. Now, during the campaign, President Trump repeatedly promised to end the fighting within 24 hours of taking office, later revising it to 6 months after being elected. For now, all eyes will be on Vice President J.D. Vance to see if he can get President Zelensky to agree to talks with Putin to end the war in Ukraine. That's First Post America for this Friday. I'm Eric Ham, signing off from our studios in Washington, D.C. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.